All right, so here we go. First video, we're going to talk about knife skills today, or rather, things to do with the knives that you have. And I'm going to explain what each of the knives are and how they're best used. So here we go. So wanted to just talk through the knives that I have personally, and then kind of how I use each of them from there. So this one I have is more just like a steak knife, and then we'll talk through that in a second. I have my chef's knife, I have a paring knife, I have a small chef's knife, a santoku knife, a bread knife, and then this is like a little filleting knife that you do for like fish and things like that. So move all these over. I'm going to talk starting with the steak knife. So as the name implies, use it for steaks, or if I'm cutting up really delicate things, because it has the nice serrated edge to it. I'm going to use it sometimes when I have to do like small tomatoes and things like that, where I don't want to bust out a big knife, but I'm able to use just this small, really nice serrated edge and just, kind of saw at things. So this is more of like my saw than anything. And I use it for a lot of small veggies and stuff like that. So going to the big chef's knife. So this is like for everything possible. And as you look down the knife, there's going to be different ways to use it for the different parts of this knife. So on the tip right here, you have it for really delicate chopping, so say for like herbs and things like that, you would just finely chop the end of it, and that's what this part of the knife is for. As you move up, now you're going to be doing more of a rocking motion, okay? So I usually keep my hand on the top, so I don't even mess with this portion, because in general, this curve is going to be more of a rocking knife. So if I have, like, say, a big carrot, I'm just going to go all the way down this, or if I'm moving down the line on, tomatoes or potatoes, really anything that needs to be chopped in a line, then I'm going to be going like this, mincing garlic, chopping up onions, things like that. It could also be used to like saw through something. So I'm going to start at the tip here and put whatever that item is, and then I'm going to use the blade to press down, and then it's going to do most of the work because it should be sharp enough to do that. So while we're on this, this is kind of your center point. So that's where the balance is of that blade, which is where your fingers need to be, and that's why it has that little indention. Now let's try to get that on camera. So right there, that's where your two fingers want to be. That's where you're going to have the most control over this thing. I got my fingerprints on it. And that is how you can move it around. When I'm moving through the kitchen, I'm going to have my hand behind this. So say, for instance, like Judah is off to my left right now. Come on up. And he's going to be standing there. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to move away from him, but I'm always going to be keeping the blade side towards me, a hand nicely over this part, because I know if I hit him, it's going to be like that. So with all these kids around, it's good to just have good knife control. So there you go. So that's how you'd use this. A lot of rocking and chopping I use with this. I don't do a lot of, fine movements down on this end, just because there's other knives that I can use that for. So that's your main chef's knife. That's for all the things. Paring knife. This is going to be used for small fruits and veggies, so like limes, lemons, things like that. And it's really just to be making cuts, just like this. And that's generally how I'm going to be using this one. If this is all I need, then that's what I'll use. So if I'm just doing limes and chopping those, I'll just hold the lime with these two fingers, and I'll just chop down this way, turn it, chop down this way. But that's what this is for. Really small, delicate cuts with this tip. Otherwise, you're using it for just hacking through some things. So this is the first chef's knife that I got, and it is just a smaller chef's knife. And it's really helpful if I want to move really fast with my chopping, because it's a little bit lighter and it's just a little bit easier to manage than this guy. So when I don't want to have to deal with the big chef's knife, I pull this one out. And I will do more chopping with this one. Not as much rocking, because there's not as much of a rocking motion that this one has. So this I would use more for chopping. But same thing as the other chef's knife. This one, your Santoku knife, has a nice flat blade, and this is the main one you're going to be using for that straight up and down chopping as you're moving your vegetable or whatever you have in your hands. So taking your hands just like this, you're going to be using these 3 fingers, and that's going to be on the board. You don't want to have your fingers exposed here, but you want to basically create this flat straight up and down so that this knife can go rest against it, and there's no chance as fast as you go that you're going to cut yourself. Watch the pinky, because it likes to get involved, but I keep it tucked under with my thumb, and my thumb is holding whatever. So I'm going to use this pestle as an example. So if I have these 3 here and I'm chopping this, I take my thumb and my pinky and I'm pushing this through with those 2 fingers, where these ones are flat. Again, not making sure that they don't flatten themselves like this, but that they stay tucked under, and you're using just this part of your finger. So then this pushes, and you don't have to move this knife, but just pushing from the back of whatever's in there. So that's what I'm going to be using this one for. Again, you can slice down on something. So you can start at the top and use the full blade to really just go down, down, down like this. Or you can just chop straight up and down. That's what you're using that for. All right, that's that one. And then we have the bread knife. So in general, I only use this for bread, and that way I don't really have to wash it, because generally the breads that I'm cutting are very dry. And so if anything, I just wipe it off with a damp cloth, and then you're good to go there. So sawing through, letting the knife do all of the work. So as you're going down the piece of bread, I have control with my top hand, and then I'm just holding this against here and, sawing down the way there and doing that. Not much to say about the bread knife other than let the blade do the work, and don't force it down the bread, because that just means that your blade is not very sharp if you're having to really press down super hard. And then last but not least of the knives I have, I do have one bonus knife, but I'll show you that in a second. So this is like your fillet knife. It's very, very flexible. So let's try to get a view there. So it's very bendable. So if you have a piece of fish and you're trying to cut the skin off, you can get this thing really close to the cutting board and close underneath that, and just work that knife underneath your hand. Basically anything that you need to press against. I crush garlic with this, so I might chop the head off that big piece of garlic, and then I'll take a clove, put the clove here, and then I'll just kind of squeeze it down and mash the garlic, and then you can chop it from there. But otherwise, if you're just trying to make like a little paste, you can really use this knife to press it in there. You can technically do that with something like a chef's knife, but it's not as fun. To be able to like bend this blade is really fun to do. You can do it like I said, but you have to use more like this part to do the garlic and really like crush it more in this motion. So anyhow, that's what this is for. Really like skinning things and anything that would involve bending this blade and getting super close to something. And then last, this is the newest knife I got, which is like a combination of chef's knife and Santoku knife. And it's definitely my most dangerous knife that I have, because it has this tip here we go. This tip right here is like a chef's knife, but then you treat it like a Santoku knife because you're chopping a lot. So it's just kind of all around. It would be like combining this one and this one together. You see how the shape really mimics this, but then also has a nice fine point. So I'm doing a lot of chopping, and then I can also rock with this one and use the tip of it here to get, you know, that really fine cut on the tip. So hopefully that helps explain what all these knives are. Let me know if you got any questions. Text in the family chat. We'll go from there. Love y'all.